SummerSlam was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But the 2025 edition of SummerSlam ended up living up to the hype it promised with its two-night extravaganza. Did I love everything?
Nope.
I did, however, enjoy most of it and felt satisfied enough after it was all said and done on Sunday. Night 1 was, at least to me, the appetizer to Night 2. Mix in 3 tag team matches with some championship gold on the line, and you essentially get what SummerSlam went with to open up the weekend. I have to say, I was excited for most of the matches on the card for both nights, but unfortunately some of them didn't deliver. Night 2, I don't even know where to begin. It started off with a bang, much like Night 1, and ended with one of the biggest, most shocking returns in WWE history. Let's get into it. Up first, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso defeated Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a spirited match. Years from now, we'll look back at what makes an opening match so great for a PLE, and we'll think about this one. As I predicted, Jey Uso took most of the work during this match, and they really worked towards that hot tag for Roman later on. Just when Jey was about to make that tag, Bronson dragged Roman off the apron for some heat, and it beautifully built up that anticipation for the hot tag later. I also really loved the activity going on outside the ring, specifically when Roman Reigns speared Braun Breaker through the barricade, getting that retribution for the spear he and Jey took on the Raw before SummerSlam. Also, can we get a round of applause for whoever came up with the name Shula Fala? I thought that was brilliant. And the match ends with Jey Uso hitting a spear and a splash on Bronson Reed, and we get an opening match that brings the crowd alive. All around, it was fantastic stuff from all 4 participants. I can't really be angry with that finish. This one easily gets a 2 thumbs up for me. Following that was the women's tag team title match as Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defeated Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez to become the new tag team champions. This happened to be the 3rd longest match on the card, and all 4 participants didn't waste any time with what they were given. I think in Raquel's case, she really took to heart the criticism that she received from Kevin Nash, because ever since then, she's become a completely different wrestler. From the get-go, we see teamwork from Raquel and Roxanne, who took advantage of some miscues from Alexa and Charlotte. Toward the midway point of this match, there were a lot of spots that had me guessing of who was going to win, and at certain points, I thought that my prediction of Alexa and Charlotte winning was going to be off. And nearing the end of the match, we got that miscue from Alexa where she accidentally knocked Charlotte with her forearm, and then we got that amazing shot of Charlotte standing up and seeming like she was going to go for Alexa before knocking down Raquel and setting up for the win. For the follow-up to a great opening match, I thought this one did its job and the result was perfect. So again, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. And then we go off the rails a little bit as Sami Zayn defeats Karrion Kross in under 10 minutes. And I've got to say, you know a decision is wrong when a beloved babyface like Sami Zayn is immediately met with a chorus of not boos, not cheers, just a groan from the crowd. Following his victory, the crowd looked completely deflated, and for good reason. They've been spending months and months building up Karrion Kross from someone seldomly seen on screen to suddenly getting matches on SummerSlam PLEs, and it all felt like it was for nothing. And I read a lot of things online, and my wife said it, I said it, I just don't get this. I don't get the result. For me at least, Karrion Kross absolutely needed to win this match. Again, he went from someone that wasn't seen on screen to becoming this sort of indie movie darling that fans talk about, and more fans go online and talk about him, and he becomes a cult classic. Of course, we didn't get the moment where Kross admits that he's wrong. That was part of the stipulation, but I imagine that it's going to be a part of Monday Night Raw, so I guess we'll have to wait out for that, and maybe they extend this program, but at this point, I don't see what the point is, and I think we're just done with it, and Kross can move on to something else, and Sami Zayn can chase a World Heavyweight Championship. In my preview for SummerSlam, I said that this match had to deliver, and for the most part, I felt that it did until the very end, when it just fell flat on his face. For me, the end kind of puts a pin in it, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to give it 2 thumbs down. Following that atrocity was the WWE Women's Championship match as Tiffany Stratton defeated Jade Cargill to defend the title and remain undefeated in 2025. Honestly, I went into this match thinking that Tiffany Stratton would win and defend her title, and not only was I not underwhelmed with the match, but I thought it met expectations. Sure, Jade Cargill is limited in the ring with what she can do, but when you put her against someone that is athletic and can work well in the ring, you put her in a good spot to at least perform. Yes, there were some instances where they kind of second-guessed themselves on a few spots, but overall I didn't find that it distracted from the match. I'm also glad that we're not guaranteeing that the King and Queen of the Ring winners are guaranteed to win their titles during their shots. We saw that in 2024 when Gunther and Nia Jax were the King and Queen of the Ring respectively, and then they went on to win their titles. So this is a nice change of pace, and I'm hoping that we see more of that. With that said, I'm kind of stumped on this one. I really don't know where they go with Jade, and I'm kind of worried that they just crushed her momentum. Coming into this match, she defeated Naomi at WrestleMania, she defeated Asuka in the finals of the Queen of the Ring, and then she defeated Naomi a second time in a street fight. So to see her go from all of that to a loss clean against Tiffany Stratton, it kind of paints a pretty bad picture, and I'm not sure where she goes from here. Overall, I think this match delivered what it needed to do, and for that reason, I'm going to give it one thumb up. Just before the main event, Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul defeated Randy Orton and Jelly Roll in a match that had very little expectations and kind of surprised. For the most part, going into this match, I thought that we were going to get a glorified handicap match with Randy Orton taking on the brunt of the work, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much Jelly Roll got in on the action. Started off the match, took quite a few bumps, and then sold the hell out of a frog splash on the announce table, and I'm still not sure how he pulled it off. I also do need to give props to Jelly Roll, who came in at just under 300 pounds. I think it was clocked in at 299, and this was the first time Jelly Roll appeared under 300 pounds since middle school. That's crazy to me, and I have to give him props for meeting those goals that he had set for himself, and hope to see him continue on that journey. A fantastic moment for me happened when Jelly Roll took that frog splash on the announce table and he was being helped to the back. And he kind of had this Mick Foley moment during that Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker where he kind of just looked back and said, nah, I have to still keep going. And he got back on the apron and took the tag from Randy to get back into the match. I thought that was really cool and well pulled off, and it was a lot of fun to watch. While I will say that this is not my type of match, I'm not too keen on celebrities coming in from time to time. I'd rather see wrestlers that are being left to the side. I do have to admit that for a celebrity appearance, Jelly Roll did a phenomenal job. I'm going to give this match just one thumb up because, again, it's not my cup of tea per se, but I do have to give credit for all four participants and how good they looked in the match. And in the big main event of night one, CM Punk defeated Gunther to become the new World Heavyweight Champion, in which he celebrated, pyros went off, and we all went home happy. Is what I would be saying if Seth Rollins didn't come out, show that his knee injury was a ruse, and he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and defeated CM Punk, who held the title for less than 6 minutes. First, let's talk about the match. Gunther and CM Punk put on an absolute masterclass, and they wrestled just over half an hour in a match that I could go back and watch time and time again. Punk took a bazillion chops to the chest. Gunther was opened up like I've never seen him before. And the finish, when Punk hit not one, but 2 GTSs and set up that Mortal Kombat-like finish him stage, I thought that was really cool and well pulled off. And it really set up for that pinfall where everyone just celebrated, and it was an awesome moment. I will say I love the idea that it took 2 GTSs to put down Gunther, not even put him down for a pin, but to knock him down to the ground. I thought that made Gunther look really strong, and it shows promise that despite the fact that he lost, they're still trying to make Gunther look good and look strong, so I'm hopeful to see what he does in the future. Just as we were about to finish off the night with a fantastic finish, Seth Rollins' music hits, and out he comes on crutches with Paul E. Heyman holding the briefcase. And just like that, the crutches go down, Seth pulls off the knee brace to reveal that it was the ruse of the century, and we get Seth Rollins' second cash-in attempt, which was successful, defeating the only other person to successfully cash in 2 Money in the Bank briefcases. I thought that was very poetic and well pulled off. And I'll just go out and admit it, he had me fooled from the start. I even put out a video on this channel wishing him well, and even the fact that Becky Lynch put out a video of him walking down the street with his daughter on crutches completely sold me. I don't care how many of you out there are saying that you knew it all along and you called it out. It had me fooled, and I'm man enough to admit it. By proxy, this means that the Rollins-Punk feud will be continuing for the foreseeable future. I imagine until the end of 2025, maybe even into WrestleMania 42 season. We'll have to wait and see, but I can't imagine this program ends anytime soon, which means there's a lot of great matches on the horizon. As for the match and the cash-in, I have to easily give this a 2 thumbs up. Call me a Punk mark, call me a mark for cash-ins, whatever. This match absolutely slapped, and the cash-in just was the cherry on top of the sundae. Replicating night 1 with a solid opening performance, night 2 saw the night begin with Naomi defeating Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to defend her Women's World Heavyweight Championship. And was there ever any doubt that this match was going to deliver? When you have 3 of the absolute best performers in the ring at the same time, you're guaranteed a solid match. In a way, I'm kind of surprised we didn't see any underhanded tactics from Naomi, considering that there was no DQ in a triple threat match. We did get her biting the finger of Rhea Ripley, and she also hooked the tights when she rolled up Rhea for the win, but otherwise it was pretty clean for the most part. What this triple threat did so well is how they utilized the third participant during the near fall attempts and the close calls. I thought that every time there was a possibility of someone winning, the third participant just ran in and clobbered the person off that pinfall, and it was truly amazing how they went about it. I also enjoyed the fact that they had so many near falls and false finishes that it kept me guessing. I did have Naomi winning, and she does end up winning the match and retaining, but there were a few points where I kind of doubted my pick. This match easily gets a 2 thumbs up for me, and now I'm curious to see who's up next for Naomi. Following that was the 6-pack TLC match, as the Wyatt Six were successful in retaining the WWE Tag Team titles against Andrade and Rey Fenix, DIY, Fractum, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. This match was another case of knowing exactly what we're getting into and having all our expectations crushed. Bodies were flying through tables left and right, ladders were being demolished, and I think of up to 16 chairs were used in this match, is what they said in the post-show, which is absolutely crazy to me. At one point, Candice LeRae, B-Fab, and Nikki Cross even got involved, trying to help their respective teams win the tag team titles. What really caught me off guard was the nasty spot that Candice took, falling from inside the ring to the outside and through a ladder. It was one of the nastiest spills I saw the entire match. I also absolutely love the spot of the Street Profits redoing one of the spots with Joe Gacy. I think that more wrestlers need to pay attention to something like this, where they missed their cue on one of the spots where Joe Gacy was supposed to go through the ladder and instead just barely missed it. And instead of just going about the match, they set up the spot again and did it a second time, this time landing him on top of the ladder. I think that more people need to pay attention to that and go with that, because the crowd absolutely ate it up. I will say though, I'm a little bit surprised with the Wyatt Six retaining in this match. When you include so many teams involved in one match and a TLC stipulation, it's generally a good time to change the title holders and put the titles on someone new, but they went with the Wyatt Six retaining, which means they have something more planned for them down the line, and I'm interested in seeing where they go with the tag team division on SmackDown. I'm going to give this match a 2 thumbs up as well, just simply for the mayhem and chaos that ensued, and I hope that this isn't the last time we see a TLC match of this standard. At the midway point, we get the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, as Becky Lynch defeated Lyra Valkyria to retain. Both Becky and Lyra ended up using everything but the kitchen sink, and that includes a toolbox, a crowbar, and even zip ties. Speaking of zip ties, I just want to point out that at one point, while Lyra had her hands zip tied together, that zip tie that was used became undone, and it was pretty clear, and she just put it back on and raveled up her hands to make it look like she was still tied up, but it was pretty clear that the thing was broken to begin with. With that said, there were some great spots in this match. We had the manhandle slam on Lyra through a pair of chairs, and at one point Lyra, while her hands were still zip tied, performed a no-handed moonsault off the middle rope, which was pretty crazy. By far, one of my favorite spots of the entire night was following the Bayley intervention in the match. She was thrown over the barricade by Becky, and as Becky was kind of recouping from the interaction, Lyra just came out of nowhere. I assume she jumped off the top rope to the outside, crashing into Becky and through a table. But from our perspective, we didn't see Lyra until she came crashing down, and it caught me completely off guard and just was really funny. Now, I did expect a Bayley heel turn, and while she did show up, there's nothing indicating that she turned heel during this match, although she did lead to Lyra losing the match, so I imagine there's going to be some sort of interaction on Raw involving both Bayley and Lyra, and perhaps we could see a heel turn then, but as far as SummerSlam goes, she's still face, so that remains in the air. As for how this match went, I'm going to give it a 2 thumbs up as well, because I do think it lived up to the expectations of a no DQ, no countout match, and it sets up for a further storyline between Bayley and Lyra and even Becky, and I'm curious to know where they go from it now that Lyra can't challenge for the Intercontinental Championship anymore. Does she enter a program with Bayley, or does she challenge for something else, maybe the tag team titles, or even the World Heavyweight Championship? The fourth match of SummerSlam Night 2 was the Steel Cage match, where Solo Sikoa successfully defended the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. Unfortunately, this match was the weakest of the card, but to no detriment of either Jacob or Solo, as they did what they needed to do inside the steel cage. I'm not sure how much more milk there is to be squeezed from this cow, as Jacob Fatu has now taken 2 consecutive PLE losses against Solo Sikoa, and this whole MFT thing with Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu is starting to become redundant and quite bland. Striking when the iron's hot is something the WWE needs to start doing more often, and from where I see it, Jacob Fatu needs to start being pushed more into the main event picture, while Jimmy Uso could be pushed into the United States Championship picture and be the next challenger for Solo Sikoa. I think that makes more sense for him. I think it's a fresh new take on a challenger for Solo, and it gives Jacob something more to do and something bigger. It's sad in a way because you know that Jacob and Solo could pull off so much more inside the steel cage, but due to time restraints and how little they had to work with, we sadly got one of the bigger spots of the night post-match while Solo Sikoa was already outside the cage, and that was the moonsault off the top of the cage on JC Mateo and Tonga Loa. I really wanted to give this match at least 1 thumb up, but sadly it gets 1 thumb down. While it wasn't completely disastrous, I felt like most of the match and the post-match stuff was something you would see on a random episode of SmackDown and not something on SummerSlam. Before Night 2's big main event, Dominic Mysterio put up his Intercontinental Championship on the line against AJ Styles and actually came up on top. I know I said in my preview video that I expected at least 4 to 5 title changes during the 2-night event, but damn, after 5 matches on Night 2, no title changes? That was surprising to me. As you would have guessed it, an AJ Styles match turned out great, no surprise here, but what I really liked was how great Dom Mysterio looked. He absolutely looked like $1,000,000. The Eddie Guerrero inspiration during this match was through the roof. AJ Styles came out in a lowrider with hydraulics and was wearing the tights with the Styles heat shirt, and Mysterio was pulling off all the Guerrero stuff, from the fake steel chair shot where he fell down to removing the boot like Eddie Guerrero did during his match against Kurt Angle while he was in the ankle lock. I thought that all the inspiration and all the throwbacks to Eddie Guerrero was just amazing. Sure, Dom does resort to cheap tactics to beat AJ Styles, but it's more in line with how Eddie Guerrero would win his matches and less with Judgment Day involvement, so I'm all for it. If that's how Dom Mysterio is going to win from here on out, then keep at it. Post-match, I thought it was really cool that AJ Styles, while in defeat and was disappointed, gave credit to Dom Mysterio for utilizing the boot and removing it to get out of the submission hold. I think it's really cool that a veteran of AJ Styles' status is giving credit to someone like Dom Mysterio, and it helps build his career moving forward. Without a doubt, this match easily gets 2 thumbs up, and what little time we have left of AJ Styles, we can't help but just appreciate the work he puts in, and I'm enjoying what little remains. Finally, that brings us to the big main event, as John Cena lost the undisputed WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes, giving Cody his 2nd title run in 2 years. In this match, I called for a double heel face turn, akin to what happened at WrestleMania 13 between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but what I wasn't expecting was for John Cena to turn face the SmackDown before SummerSlam. I ain't mad about it, I'm just surprised, and pleasantly so. It's so great to see John Cena back to his old roots and to see him just so natural and playing up to the crowd again. And man, this was the match that we were promised at WrestleMania 41. It came a couple months too late, but I'm still glad that we got it at SummerSlam. Cody and John wrestled for almost 40 minutes, and at no point did I think the match was dragging on. Quite the opposite, I felt like the match just went by so quickly, and I was dreading the finish of the match because, let's face it, this was one of the best John Cena matches during his retirement tour, maybe even his best match. Oh, and if you like false finishes, this match had plenty of them. At one point, John Cena hit double attitude adjustments and then set up for a third on the top rope, which was the Avalanche AA, and Cody Rhodes kicked out of it, which threw the crowd off guard. And then on the other side of the coin, Cody Rhodes hit John Cena with 3 crossroads, which is what he used to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, and John Cena kicked out. But at the end of the day, there can only be one winner, and after Cody put John through a table, he hit one last crossroads, and that's all she wrote. For once, I'm kind of bummed John Cena lost, and that just feels so weird to me to say. We get a nice moment between Cody and John before Cody leaves the ring to let Cena kind of embrace the crowd and soak it all in, and that's where we thought the show was going to end, but then the elephant in the room appeared.
It's John Cena. What?
I kid you not, When Brock Lesnar's music played and he appeared on stage, my wife put her hands over her mouth and they did not move away from her face until the show came to an end. It was that surprising, and I have to say I was completely caught off guard too. Not just for the fact that nothing was mentioned about his return or any mention of him being involved with anything WWE related, but you have to remember, Brock Lesnar was considered one of those people that WWE would never bring back. I'm not going to get into the whole thing about why that's the case. I think that if you're a wrestling fan and you're watching a 37-year-old talk about a wrestling pay-per-view, then you probably already know what the case is and it's not worth diving back into. If you know, you know, and I'm just surprised that he's back. Now, sure, the obvious thing is that he's going to wrestle against John Cena, and there's a pretty good explanation for why that is. Now, this is John Cena's retirement tour, and he has been making calls as to who he wants to face. If you remember Ron Killings, that was one of the matches that he wanted to have, and I can't imagine it isn't the same for Brock Lesnar. In 2002, both Brock Lesnar and John Cena were involved in OVW. They were part of that big class of 2002 that also included the likes of Batista and Shelton Benjamin. So when you look back at the career of John Cena, you'll notice that the same kind of trend and pattern goes with Brock Lesnar, where they are so entangled with one another that it was impossible to leave him out and omit him from this retirement tour. With that said, this had to be something TKO cleared, otherwise it wouldn't happen. So Brock Lesnar should be cleared by TKO, whatever that might mean, and if it's the right call or the wrong call, it's not for me to decide. But what is known now is that Brock Lesnar is back in the WWE, and they might set something up for Clash in Paris where we see John Cena versus Brock Lesnar one last time. With that said, I'm kind of at a loss for words. This return had me speechless, and it's kind of more shocking than the 2023 return of CM Punk, who was away from the company for over a decade and trashed the company on a podcast, but he grew up over time and he's matured into someone completely different from that time. Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, has a lot of baggage that he's carrying with him right now, and he's someone that I didn't expect back in the WWE for a whole entire other reason. And now that he is back, I'm left speechless. And that does it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I spent almost 20 hours watching wrestling this weekend, and I have to admit, I'm spent. As spent as I am right now, I'm pretty stoked about being in attendance for next Friday Night SmackDown, which will be in Montreal. I'll be in attendance live, and I'm super stoked to see what the show has in order. Heck, I might even see Brock Lesnar, which is something I never expected to say in 2025. It's such a weird time. If you like this video, click like, and if you really liked it, hit subscribe and check that bell to receive all notifications on future videos. There will be more videos coming, and your continued support means the world to me. As always, this is Sean signing off, reminding you that no matter what you do in life, be yourself, believe in yourself, and above all else, stay persistent.